Hi, another of Mrs. H Psychology revision videos. This is for paper 3, the addiction topic. So this is for AQA Psychology, new spec for addiction. And we're looking today at the risk factors, and we're looking at factor 3. So factor 3 is personality. There are two others. We've already done the genetic vulnerability and the stress. We're on number 3, personality, and then we'll do 4 family influences and peers separately. Here we go. So personality factors affecting addiction. Right, I'm going to talk you through various different personality factors that seem to be linked. It seems that there isn't a specific addictive personality. People often talk about an addictive personality, not anything specifically, but there certainly are personality traits that seem to be very closely linked with addictive behaviours. So the first one we're going to look at is the APD, antisocial personality disorder. So someone with APD, antisocial personality disorder, has the following characteristics. They tend to be very impulsive. They tend to be high risk takers. They like immediate gratification. They tend to lack rules, and they also tend to lack concern for others or take responsibility for others as well. Looking at the research, we've got Fabriga found that 40% of APD patients seeking therapy for APD also abuse substances. So therefore, obviously a strong link between them. We've also got Ivanov, in a review of research, concluded that lots of the research found a very strong link between being very impulsive, so one of the characteristics of APD, being very high impulsivity, and addiction. The thing is, with this sort of research, we've got to be careful. These are not experiments, it's just correlations, they're just finding links between them, no causal link. So there are all sorts of other extraneous variables that could be influencing these results, but also the addictive behaviour could be altering the personality, and we've got to remember that it also could be the other way around, that the personality is indeed altering the addiction or the addictive behaviours. Okay, so it could be either of those ways around. So that's the first one, APD. We're going to go on to another theory now. So another personality characteristic comes from Eysenck, who argued there was a biological basis to personality. In other words, somebody could be born with a vulnerable personality. And he suggested 2 characteristics very closely linked to addiction. The characteristics are high neuroticism, in other words, somebody who has high anxiety and irritability, and high psychoticism, all right, characterized by high aggression and emotional detachment. And then we need to explain the link between them. So, for example, highly neurotic person may be becoming addictive, experimenting with substances to relieve the anxiety, for example. Emotionally detached, meaning that they are not so concerned with the consequences of their behaviour. So we could explain their initiation into some substance use, for example, with these characteristics. There is a third theory as well. Let's have a look at that. So the third theory is Cloninger's tridimensional theory of addictive behaviour, which states that there are 3 different factors, characteristics really, influencing addictive behaviour. First is novelty seeking, right? So the need for change, stimulation, and therefore they are seeking out new experiences, for example, initiation into substance use. Secondly, harm avoidance. The amount somebody worries and sees the negative side of a situation. So novelty seeking, we can see, if we just go back to that one, we can see why if you're wanting a lot of change, you might be looking for new experiences and therefore initiating into gambling behavior, substance use, something like that. Harm avoidance would be somebody who, if you were somebody who doesn't worry so much about consequences or the potential danger in a situation, you're possibly more likely to get involved with substance use than somebody who's worrying about the situation all the time. And the third one is reward dependence. So how quickly someone learns from a rewarding situation. So if you're making that connection between, for example, I don't know, drinking alcohol and feeling very relaxed and therefore not worrying about the work or social situations or home life or money problems or whatever it is. If you're somebody who's making that connection very quickly, then you're more likely to continue to use that substance. So ensuring that we can explain each of these. And to finish off, just a little bit of research to support really that Howard and Zuckerman's meta-analysis investigating Cloninger's theory found that novelty seeking does predict alcohol abuse in teenagers and young adults. But when they were looking into the other two factors, harm avoidance and reward dependence, they found that that wasn't so clear cut, that wasn't such an obvious connection. The other thing we've got to remember is a lot of this research is correlational. It doesn't show causal links. It's just showing a relationship between different factors. So none of the research shows a direct causal link, only a likelihood of vulnerability. So really showing that there is this vulnerability to becoming more addicted to activities, addicted to substances. So really just showing a predisposition, and we know there are so many other factors that could be influencing this, for example, environment, and we have the choice also in our behaviours, so there are other factors that play a massive role as well. So if you got an essay question on this, you would be expected to bring in alternatives as well. Okay, that's the end of this one.